Well, you know how the saying goes, the audio system is only as strong as its weakest link. And in today's conversation with Pioneer, we're going to discover the things that make Pioneer tick when it comes to delivering optimum sound in the car environment, as well as discovering a patented technology in open and smooth that we're going to find out with product expert Robert Money, who will be joining us today. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Pioneer. And it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and on today's show, we're discovering what the term audiophile means from a Pioneer perspective. Our guest today is Robert Money, who's their product expert, and we're going to discover a couple of the patented technologies that Pioneer applies to all their products, and maybe a little bit more specific dive into their top-of-the-line Z series of product as well. Now, Robert, we've got a lot to talk about, but this is going to be an interesting conversation. So what can you give us as an overview of our conversation today?
Hi, Ben. Actually, we will do a bit different than typical type of interaction. So instead of purely talking about product itself, I would like to do a bit different with you today, if you want. So we want to look at it as a global perspective of what is a car audiophile sound system. So instead of talking about pure product again, we will look at the global pictures on how you can achieve a good balance for a audiophile sound system.
Now, this is the type of conversation, Rob, that I could definitely sink my teeth into. But before that, a quick opportunity for our partner SiriusXM to remind all the dealers out there why they should love it. And when we come back, Rob and I are going to get deep into what it means to build an audiophile system. Don't you dare go away.
Hey guys, Ricky Lima here from SiriusXM. I had a chance to speak to some dealers and ask them what they love about selling SiriusXM. Here's what they had to say.
Coast-to-coast coverage.
I love SiriusXM for commercial-free music.
It's a great add-on sale and a profit opportunity.
We love selling SiriusXM because you can listen to the same channel coast to coast.
Profitability and ease of installation. It's a no-brainer.
We love selling SiriusXM for its ease of installation, great profitability, and reliability. People love it.
All right, welcome back to the show. As mentioned, our special guest today, Robert Money, joins us from Pioneer Electronics. Now, if we're going to talk about audiophile grade systems, Rob, I think the first question is, let's pick your brain and ask, what do you feel an audiophile system even is?
Actually, that can be pretty down simple, Ben. First, let's talk what is a audiophile. So an audiophile is someone who's passionate about music. So he's looking all the time to improve his music system for higher fidelity in a way to reproduce the most faithfully the original sound captures by the recording. So that is an audiophile. Here, I'll maybe make some people mad at me, but we need to understand here and look at an audiophile as someone who's looking for audio quality, not expensive or exotic products. So too many people in the industries actually automatically attach those words to audiophile world, which I think is wrong. So we need to consider that rich people are not necessarily audiophile people, and audiophile people are not necessarily rich people. So we need to also understand that there's some limitation in the car environment that we don't have at home, as an example with the sound system in the living room or headphones. So we need to put that into perspective with the environment. So the best example also I can say as a car lover, so I love to have a Porsche 911 GT3 as a daily drivers, but I can't afford it. So it's too expensive for me. So instead of dreaming about something I can touch, why not do a audiophile system that I can reach and I can build in a way to enjoy it on a daily basis with my car, within my own bubble of happiness, instead of dreaming about something that I will never have because I don't want to spend that crazy amount of money.
So the first place, no, sorry, let's retake that. So the first thing I'm absolutely going to agree with you is I too wish I was driving a 911 GT3, but no, I can't afford that either, Rob. So I think the important part here is to recognize the fact that this is a subjective kind of situation. And yes, budget has to come into play here in this discussion. So let's kind of bring this all down to, we understand that there's a certain level of reality and realism we must take into consideration. But that doesn't mean we can't have our cake and eat it too. So let's dissect that a little bit further, Robert. Help us understand, in your words, what you feel a car audio system could look like as far as a system build when it comes to an audiophile grade type of environment.
First, I think we need to have an overview of the solution, the global pictures, and not a narrowed down vision on a specific product. So if you put all your eggs into one product and don't think about the other things beside it, it will be a big strike for your system, and you will not happy of the end result. So the audio chain is as strong as the weakest link. So no matter what you do, look for balance from the source to the ears. So it's really important to have a complete sets of good component that perfectly balance to each others. So speakers are one of the key element, and I'll explain you why and how they are key element into that things later on. But just think that speakers are the only place in the audio system where we are doing transformation of the information. So transformation from electrical signals to air movement that create sound. So you need to control that environment the best you can. So you need to not think about spending $1,000 on the speaker system if you don't take time to prepare the environment the right way, in a way to accommodate the installation the perfect way, to have them optimized within that environment. So you need to be careful about that. So just a quick example. Let me grab something here. So this is a own bookshelf, pretty nice bookshelf. Okay, so if I knock on the cabinet, this is pretty rigid type of cabinet, dead sound. Okay, so now think about your car door panel. Okay, we do a simulation. That is metal sheet as your door panel is, and this is your door panel. So think about it really twice when you are installing a speaker in the car. You just don't put those speakers in with 4 screws and that's it. There's more to do about it.
All right, Rob, you've given me no choice but to now give you the nickname Bob the Cook. That's going to stick here on CMA. And if we're using this as an example to explain what you're trying to get across here, what are the best ingredients then, if we're talking like that, for the recipe to make sure that the environment is best optimized to have audiophile grade sound?
Okay, Bob the Cook, good. Okay, Ben. So unless your goal is to listen to music in the car while you are in the parking lot without driving, you need to prepare the car in a way to create the good foundation for your car system. So the best thing to work on is, if you have a global budget already set in your mind, so think to maybe reduce a bit that budget on the audio component itself, in a way to have a part of that budget in a way to create the good environment, in a way to extract 100% of the performance of those speakers, amplifiers, and the source. So first, deadening material, so in a way to kill that aggressive noise with my bowl I just made. And the other good speaker foundation will be to do something that will create that door as a good enclosure. So if you have any kind of plastic film in the inner door panel, so isolate that with a noise barrier. So there's specific material for that. So, and it's not deadening material. Deadening material are there to reduce vibration of the sheet metal. So noise mat are specifically designed to reduce the noise level, so the transmission of the road noise, the rolling noise of the tires, as an example, when you're riding with a car. So those are really important to do. Of course, there's a quality cable if you do audiophile installation setup. So don't use the 2022 gauge OEM cable already there. So pass a good sets of wires in a way to accommodate the speakers with the right power you need and based on the power requirement they need. And you also need to do a good foundation, like taking time to have a good and secured way to install the speakers in the door, reducing the vibration of that sheet metal even further with good bracket, firm bracket, as that multi-fit adapters from Pioneer. So those are really important. And again, I mentioned that you are as strong as the weakest link. So it's really important to have a good source of music. So not only the player, not only the in-dash AV receivers or audio receivers, but also the music and the way you deal with that music. That is really important. And last but not least, really important things, have a good gain setup on your amplifiers. And after that, a good sound tuning with proper equipment done by a professional.
Bob, I really enjoy the way you've taken the time to explain this very critical part of the process when building an audiophile type system. And I think dealers are going to appreciate it as well, because at the end of the day, the foundation is absolutely one of the most important things to get to the end result that you need. Now, let's break this down a little bit even further. Why don't we go back to the source unit, because that's really where the signal begins. We've talked about the foundation, the environment. Let's talk about the source for a second.
With pleasure, Ben. So let's look at this with the audio chain example here that we will show on screen. So an audio chain actually starts from one point, which is the recording studio. And that will be finalized with your ears at the other end, where you will receive that sound, that music, generated or created by the speakers. So if you look at both end of the chart, there's one common point for both the recording studio and the speaker itself. So those are the 2 points where we do conversion somewhere. So the microphone will pick the audio and in a way to convert it to electrical information to do the recording. And at the other end, the speakers is doing the exact same opposite thing. So that is really important and key element, because we're talking about conversion. So anything between those two things are electronics units that need to do only one thing. They need to be transparent. No other things than that. So the both end are conversion, and where it is more complicated and really more important. And just as an example, let me grab my microphone here, and if I talk to you and I move the microphone here, you will hear a big difference with the way that the microphone is picking the audio. So if you're not doing the things properly, that will change a lot of things. So that's why speaker installation and setup in the car is really important. And because we're within a audiophile session, we need to talk about the content that you will play and the source that you will play. So if you can switch on the other slides. So here are the different possible source that your AV receivers or modern AV receivers are able to play in your car. So there's different ways of listening to music. So from streaming to memory chip, your smartphone, USB drive, even hard drive in some scenarios in some cars. But no matter the content you are playing, you need to be careful and at the content you are selecting, the way that you are doing it. So streaming is convenient. It's good. So if I'm listening to Spotify as an example, I will have good music, but can I really qualify that as a audiophile music? And if you are doing the listening of the music on different ways, as an example, if I'm an iPhone user, so if I'm using Apple Music and I want to really extract the most I can from my Apple Music, then I will download that music onto my iPhone in a way to have the best quality, uncompressed, lossless music on my phone. And then I will play it over a USB connection or a Apple CarPlay with Wi-Fi that will give me the opportunities to really play it as a lossless file. So please, if you call yourself an audiophile, stop doing Bluetooth streaming.
All right, so we're checking off boxes here, Robert. We're talking about setting the environment, the foundation. Now we're talking about the source, and I love the way you explained that. I guess the next stop in our voyage of audio from getting from the source to our ears is going to be amplifier. And I can't help but think tuning the amplifier is going to be a critical stage in this process as well. I know gain seems like a pretty basic thing, but how does this play out when setting it up for the perfect audiophile experience?
Yes, Ben, that's a pretty basic thing, but unfortunately, there's a lot of misconception about gain setting. So many new technicians in the car industries, as well as technician with a couple of years as a background, still see the gain as a volume control, which is not the case. So the gain on the amplifiers is really a setting to match the input sensitivity of the amplifiers with the type of signal you are dealing with from the source. So basically, it's a match of a level between the source, or let's say it this way, the source and the amplifier input, in a way to have them at the same level. Not this, not this, not that, really at the same level. So let's move to the bench beside, and I'll show you a couple of examples of the end result of a good gain setup or a wrong gain setup. Okay, so as you can see on the bench here, I'm playing a 50 Hertz test tone with 0 dB attenuation, so a full signal that I can perform without any compression. So if you're most of the time listening to good recording, that should be a reference level. If you're listening to a recording which is type of commercial based recording, then you should look for a -5 dB reference test tone in a way to calibrate. So as you can see here, my volume level is set at 27, which is right below the distortion output of most Pioneer receivers. And in a way to achieve the same type of thing. So instead of connecting to the amplifier output, if you want to read the output power with the RCA itself here, so the only thing you can do is just create a small loop with this. So with the RCA, which is an adapter from the Pioneer amplifiers that are in the box, where you are connecting between the ground and the signal a 22 kilo ohms resistor in a way to have the measurement between both and ear. So you will be able to perform the same measurement on the RCA output of the unit in a way to validate if the output is clean, as you can see on the RTA by now, or if it's distortion, if there's any distortion, as you can see if I move the volume to 28 right now. So the idea of a perfect balance will be to have the source and the amplifier to fall into the distortion at the same level in a way to optimize the audio chain. So the source should not go into distortion without having the amplifiers goes into the distortion. So they will need to be synced to the same level. So I optimize the source, and what I need to do here is to optimize the gain, and in a way to achieve something. See here, I'm starting to have distortion. So if I'm moving down a bit here, so in a way to see, so this is really harsh distortion. So moving down the gain until I have a clean sine wave. So this is actually the best balance of the system with the gain control. But what if we're doing something like this? So I'm perfectly flat system, and if the users is playing with the loudness after that, so that was off. The custom EQ here was flat, right? So if I go back here and I change the loudness to low, look at my sine wave distortion. Go back off. If I go to the EQ setting, now I look at, as an example, with distortion because I increased it. So it's really important to optimize the signal based on what you are doing. So first, do a gain setting in a way to have those amplifiers perfectly match the source. And if you need to do calibration, so most of the time those EQ settings should work in a negative adjustment, so not positive adjustment like this or crazy. But in real life, you will have no choice to deal with that. So if you do so, then go back after you perform every calibration of the system, crossover setting and EQ setting, and look back at your signal in a way to make sure that you will not have something like this with your bass when you will have something like this with your upper frequencies or mid-range. So it's really important to find the balance here. And here again, this is not a volume control. So once the gain are set to the amplifiers, if you need to change the ratio of a speaker output versus another one, that should be done in the head unit by moving the fader front or right or left to right, or working with the sub volume within the unit itself, and not a gain type of thing.
Thank you so much, Robert, for such a simple but very helpful demo for those gain controls, especially when setting up the system. I'm going to circle back to a key word that you mentioned earlier on in our conversation. When we're talking about setting up the foundation, I think we need to explore a little bit more what that means, especially when it comes to the speakers, because we've arrived. We've talked about source, we've talked about amplifier. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the speaker setup.
With pleasure, Ben. This should be basically the same as we do at home. So, but because car environment again is totally different with the shape and the type of interaction, physical installation of those speakers, home speaker setup is by far easier than what it is in the car. So dealing for home environment is easier. So you don't need to have to deal with the position of the speakers, the angle of the speakers, the type of reflection and material and textures, including the smaller environment that create lots of impact on the audio output. And of course, the noisier environment that a car is when you are driving it. So the rule of thumbs here for speakers installation is, as I mentioned earlier, deadening material. If you have plastic sheet in the inner door, again, remove those and install a good noise reduction material in a way to seal the door itself and avoid to have a Swiss cheese type of installation surrounding your speakers, which is really wrong. So have a good foundation for the speakers. So here's an example with the Pioneer multi-fit adapters. So those adapters are designed and manufacturers in a way to not only make your life easier, of course, but increase the rigidity of the door panel, the metal sheet itself, in a way to create a better foundation. And also take time to carefully select good position of your speakers when you are doing it. So if you're installing a component set in the front, which is most of the case, or mandatory, if we can say it this way, for audiophile system, take time to look at the distance from your ear to the woofer, and do the same exercise for the ears to the tweeter, in a way to confirm that your right tweeter and right woofers will be at equal distance or close to it, in a way to avoid any phase shift and time alignment between those two, and do the same exercise for the left side. So that is things that you do as a foundation of the installation that will create something way better, and will avoid you to deal with artificial correction. So if the speaker matching is already the same from the source, then you don't have to add something that will create layers, which creates something that is less natural than if you have the right thing from the beginning.
Robert, you have me curious. This is some great advice when it comes to placement and environment for the speakers, but do the same rules apply when it comes to optimizing the subwoofer performance?
Of course, same rules applies here, Ben. So good foundation for subwoofers is as important as it is for full range speakers. So don't select a subwoofer strictly on paper specs, or something that you look on the sales floor and fall in love with. As an example, if a 12 inches subwoofers look great to your eyes, but it's totally out of spec for the requirement versus the space you have in the car, this will not give you the end result you should. So it's better to have, as an example, a smaller subwoofers within the perfect right box that the subwoofers is designed for, than have a bigger one in a smaller enclosure that will negatively impact the performance. So it's all about performance. And talking about performance and audiophile grade system, the subwoofer box design is as important as your subwoofer selection is. So let me be clear. So this is actually an enclosure design. This is an old box from a Pioneer Z display. So if you look at the construction itself with the internal bracing on the box, this is the typical type of box that you should think about when you are building a audiophile system. Not something that will be necessarily fancy. It can be, but again, that will be with a price attached to it. But if you're looking for audiophile quality, you need to have a dead subwoofer box, and that box need to be really secured to the foundation of the car. So the box should not lay down on the carpet, or is only secured with Velcro type of thing that I too often see. So that box need to be bolted in the car in a way to avoid the box to move. So if I'm having the box that is moving like this because the subwoofers is moving, I will cancel a lot of output from that subwoofers. That will create also some of air movement that I don't want to, which mean a poor quality, low frequency. So if that foundation is firm, that subwoofers will generate only what you look for. Great bass.
Rob, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. You've provided some logical steps that I think everybody should adhere to when building or striving for an audiophile grade system. So what are your final statements here? What suggestions do you have from a pioneer perspective for dealers, for consumers, for end users, for audiophile enthusiasts to build that audiophile grade system?
Pretty simple. Look for the global pictures, as I mentioned. So as strong as the weakest link. So from the source to the ears, a good high-res AV source will be the best pick. OEM type of source are good, but they are not as good as a great aftermarket unit built for that. A good amplifiers that will match the power requirement from the speakers. So if you have 100 watts RMS full range speakers, then you should look for 100 watts RMS amplifiers. Of course, RS certification is a statement on that thing, so you can be wrong with that. And TSZ speakers, in the case of Pioneer, if you're looking for a audiophile type of result in the car. And last but not least, secure some of your budget in a way to create the best environment possible to install those components in your car.
And that was Pioneer Electronics product expert Robert Money joining us today for a very unique and educational conversation. Now, if you're interested in finding out more about the products, I know we didn't go deep into that, but we certainly did mention some key ones, especially the Z-Series speakers from Pioneer. I do encourage you to head over to the website pioneerelectronics.ca to get more info. Now, my closing comments, today's conversation was an eye-opener. It's an eye-opener to see brands like Pioneer invest the time and resources into the education of good sound. The audiophile term is something that has taken so many different forms and can be interpreted so many different ways. But I think it's clear that with the conversation we had today, that Pioneer cares about not only their product, but the environment that it's going into. Moreover, the steps required to achieve that awesome sound that we all thrive to have, regardless of your budget. I want to reiterate a statement that Robert said, is that your system is only as strong as its weakest link. And if Pioneer's presenting it this way, I think that the entire chain, from the product to the presenter and the training and the support that Pioneer offers, is, well, strong through and through. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM with over 150 channels in your vehicle. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.